Deep in the Andes, a story is whispered on the wind, a legend that has tantalized explorers and haunted historians for nearly 500 years. It speaks of a treasure so immense it defies imagination. Entire gardens crafted from solid gold, temples lined with shimmering sheets of precious metal, a chain so heavy that hundreds of men were needed to lift it. This isn't a fairy tale. This was the Inca Empire, a civilization that possessed a staggering amount of gold and silver. But when Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, much of this unimaginable wealth simply vanished into the mountains and jungles. We're talking about billions, maybe even trillions of dollars in gold that remains unaccounted for to this day. The scale of what's missing is truly mind-boggling. Chroniclers described seeing things that sound impossible. Life-sized golden statues of llamas, fields of maize where every stalk, leaf and cob was perfectly rendered in pure gold. These weren't just decorations, they were the sacred heart of an empire. When the Spanish arrived, they saw only monetary value. For the Inca, it was the physical embodiment of their gods. They didn't just hide their money, they hid their sacred connection to the cosmos, creating a mystery that has driven adventurers to obsession, and often to their doom. The central question remains: where did it all go? The stories are as vast and rugged as the Andean landscape. To understand why the Inca went to such extraordinary lengths to hide their treasures, you have to understand what gold meant to them. In the West, we see gold as a symbol of wealth, of power, of currency. It's a commodity. For the Inca, it was something infinitely more profound. They called gold the sweat of the sun and silver the tears of the moon. These weren't just poetic phrases, they were literal statements of faith. The sun god, Inti, was their most powerful deity, and gold was his divine essence made manifest on earth. Possessing it wasn't about being rich, it was about being close to the gods. It was a sacred material, reserved for the Sapa Inca, the priests the most holy of temples. This fundamental difference in worldview set the stage for a cataclysmic collision of cultures. When Francisco Pizarro and his small band of conquistadors arrived, they were driven by a singular, insatiable hunger for gold. They came from a world where wealth bought status, armies, and influence. They saw the Incas' vast treasures not as religious artifacts but as a means to an end, personal enrichment and glory for the Spanish crown. They were trying to save the very soul of their culture from invaders who saw only the glitter and not the god. Nowhere was the Inca reverence for gold more dazzlingly displayed than at the heart of their empire, in the sacred city of Cusco. And at the center of Cusco was the most hallowed shrine in the entire Andes, the Koricancha, which translates to the golden enclosure. This wasn't just a temple, it was the nexus of the Inca cosmos, the point where the celestial and earthly worlds converged, and it was almost literally dripping with gold. According to the first Spanish chroniclers who saw it, the sheer opulence was difficult to process. The temple's main walls were lined with massive plates of polished gold, each one weighing several pounds, which caught the Andean sun and cast a divine, blinding glow. The interior was even more spectacular. The main sanctuary featured a massive golden disc representing the sun god Inti, studded with emeralds and precious stones. It was positioned so the morning sun would strike it, flooding the entire chamber with a light so brilliant it was said to feel like standing inside the sun itself. Adjacent chapels were dedicated to the moon stars, thunder, and rainbow. But the true marvel lay in its golden garden. There were life-sized fields of corn, silver stalks and golden ears of maize, delicate silk tassels spun from fine golden thread, golden llamas, shepherds, birds, and even insects, all crafted with painstaking realism. It was a permanent divine offering, a tribute to the sun god. Today, the Church of Santo Domingo stands atop the temple's original stone foundations. The golden soul was gone, turned into crude bars, and shipped to Spain. The story of the lost Inca gold truly begins with one of the most audacious ransoms in human history. In November 1532, Francisco Pizarro arranged a meeting with the Sapa Inca, Atahualpa, in the city of Cajamarca. Atahualpa, having just won a brutal civil war against his half-brother Huáscar, arrived with a retinue of thousands, confident in his power. But it was a trap. Pizarro's small force of fewer than 200 men used the shock power of cavalry and firearms to ambush and capture the emperor, slaughtering his attendants. Suddenly, the divine ruler of the most powerful empire in the Americas was a prisoner. What happened next set in motion the greatest treasure hunt on Earth. Seeing the Spaniards' obsessive lust for gold and silver, the captive Atahualpa made a staggering offer. In exchange for his freedom, he would fill a large room, approximately 22 feet long by 17 feet wide, once with gold and then twice over with silver up to the height he could reach with his hand. Pizarro, stunned by the proposal, readily agreed. The chamber became known as the ransom room. Atahualpa dispatched orders across his vast empire: strip the temples, empty the palaces, and bring the sacred metals to Cajamarca. For months, a river of treasure flowed from every corner of the Andes, carried on the backs of thousands of llamas and porters. The execution of Atahualpa was a fatal miscalculation. It turned Inca compliance into fierce resistance. Rumiñahui, Atahualpa's loyal, formidable general, would lead that resistance. He was en route to Cajamarca escorting a colossal ransom. The convoy carried sacred relics, notably the massive golden chain of Huayna Capac. So large it took hundreds to carry. When Rumiñahui learned of Pizarro's treachery, his mission changed instantly. The gold became a war chest for rebellion. He retreated north toward Quito, modern Ecuador. With the treasure, he launched a desperate effort to hide it forever. Legend says he concealed the gold in the Langanetes Mountains. The Langanetes are cloud-covered, maze-like, and brutally steep. Thousands of Inca moved and buried the treasure. To keep the secret, Rumiñahui allegedly executed every person involved. The legend is backed by Valverde's Derrotero, a guide. Valverde supposedly married an Inca general's daughter. On his deathbed he bequeathed a map and written directions to the King of Spain. The directions describe a man-made tunnel, they mention a waterfall, and a cave where the treasure was hidden. Countless expeditions used the guide and failed. Explorers got lost or perished. The Langanetes remain a fog-bound fortress, guarding a fortune that may never be found. As the Spanish consolidated their control over the Inca heartland, the remnants of the royal family and their followers didn't just surrender. They retreated into the most remote and inaccessible parts of the Andes, establishing a new hidden kingdom from which they could wage a guerrilla war. This bastion of Inca power was centered on lost, jungle-choked citadels. The most famous was Vilcabamba. For nearly 40 years it served as the Neo-Inca capital, a symbol of defiance in the cloud forest northeast of Cusco. The Spanish desperately wanted to find and destroy it. The search became an obsession for early explorers, especially Hiram Bingham, the American academic linked to Machu Picchu in 1911. He initially thought Machu Picchu was the lost capital, but later evidence proved him wrong. Another site in the mystery is Choqquequirao, the cradle of gold perched on a ridge above the Apurimac River, structurally like Machu Picchu, but larger and far more remote. Only about 30% of it has been cleared from the jungle. Archaeologists believe it was a royal estate and ceremonial center likely built by Pachacuti. It may have linked Cusco to the Amazon. Its name suggests a connection to gold, and its scale and isolation make it a prime candidate for hidden treasure. The mysteries of the Inca are not just hidden in the mountains and jungles. Some of the most tantalizing clues are submerged beneath the waves of South America's largest lake, Lake Titicaca. Straddling the border of Peru and Bolivia at a breathtaking 12,500 feet, this was the sacred birthplace of the Inca civilization. According to their origin myth, the first Inca king, Manco Capac, and his sister wife, Mama Oclo, rose from the depths of this lake, sent by their father, the sun god Inti, to found their empire. For the Inca, Titicaca was a pacarina, a sacred place of origin, and it was a site of countless holy rituals and offerings to the gods. For centuries, local legends have spoken of vast treasures being thrown into the lake to save them from the Spanish. One of the most persistent tales involves the great golden chain of Huayna Capac, the very same one that General Rumiñahui was supposedly transporting. An alternate version of the legend claims that when news of Atahualpa's death reached the convoy carrying the chain, its bearers, in their grief and fury, heaved the entire priceless object, all 700 feet and several tons of it, into the deep, dark waters of Lake Titicaca. It's an incredible story, but given the lake's sacred status, it's a plausible one, an offering returned to the place of creation. These weren't just stories. In 2000, an international team of archaeologists launched a major underwater expedition called Atahualpa 2000. Diving into the frigid waters near the Island of the Sun, they made a stunning discovery. The most incredible finds were stone boxes carved with religious figures containing perfectly preserved offerings, including delicate gold medallions depicting Inca deities. The search for Inca gold is more than a hunt for wealth. It's a quest for a lost world. It's a journey that connects the ambition of 16th-century conquistadors to the high-tech explorers of the 21st century. The mystery endures because it operates on a scale that is almost mythical, combining a verifiable history of immense wealth with a landscape perfectly suited for hiding it. The Andes and the Amazon are two of the most formidable natural fortresses on the planet, and they have guarded the Incas' secrets well. Every new road cut into the jungle, every landslide, every archaeological survey holds the potential to unlock a piece of the puzzle. Today the search continues on multiple fronts. In Ecuador, adventurers still pore over Valverde's guide, using GPS and satellite data to try and finally pinpoint the location of Rumanahui's hoard in the Langanates. In Bolivia and Peru, underwater drones and submersibles are mapping the floor of Lake Titicaca with ever-increasing detail, searching for the glint of a golden chain or the outline of another submerged temple. And deep in the Amazon, explorers armed with LiDAR maps. The sweat of the sun is waiting. If you crave more mysteries, true crime, and the thrill of the unexplained, you're in the right place. Join our community of curious minds, like, comment your theories, and subscribe for more journeys into history's greatest enigmas and conspiracies. Your next adventure is just a click away. Stay curious and see you in the next story.